You're watching us live at Humanist TV Africa. Humanist TV Africa is a registered non-government organization. We are not a mere YouTube channel. We are a registered non-government organization called an NGO, registered as Humanist Media Africa, and we operate globally. Our intention is to inform and, of course, empower our people and help them as we help ourselves to get out of poverty, to get the right information that can help us live better and do better. My name is Kato Mukasa, and of course, in the studio always is Dennis Pongole, who is our producer right in Uganda. And of course, on Saturdays, we always have the honor to host our experts on consumer rights and related issues. Our experts in Mr. Kimera Henry, and of course, Mr. Bambale Bernard, and others. Today, we shall be having Mr. Kimera Henry to take us through a number of issues, and of course, we want to welcome him. Mr. Henry Kimera is a director at Consent Uganda and an expert doing this work for the last close to 3 decades of doing this very good work. Mr. Kimera, you are most welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kato. It is a great honor. Like it is always, I would like to thank you and the team at the Humanist TV Africa. We are greatly indebted at Consent ever since we entered partnership. But the indebtedness doesn't only go to Consent, it goes to the consumer world, because the consumers that we know and we don't know, they all tune in. So Humanist TV, we need to pop and give you a medal for being a consumer champion, making sure that quality of life of consumers is improved. So it is a great honor being with you today and looking forward to our discourse and further aspects that we need to put on today's agenda and looking at other series that we have gone through. So colleagues, today we would like to be looking at the actions that are needed to advance the issues or the benefits of digital finance, as well as its entire ecosystem. So we'll be discussing that, but I'll hand you back to the producer or the host so that he sets the ball rolling. So all our viewers, listeners, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimera. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. And of course, we want to thank you so much here at Humanist TV Africa for always making the time to come on Saturday. I know these are days for our weekend and of course for people to have time to themselves, but we dedicate this 1 hour to come here and empower each other, empower people. This being a non-government organization is here to stay, and whatever we do, we may be working at a snail's pace. Slowly but sure, one step at a time. And we know that with time, we shall be having a lot of impact out of our work. I want to thank our viewers, wherever you are, and of course, our team in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, Nigeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, of course, Uganda, Kenya, our team where we have Massive Africa branches for always sharing this show on your Facebook pages, our official pages in Zambia, Zimbabwe, official pages in Nigeria, Ghana. We want to thank you so much for always sharing. Our show is largely seen or watched on Facebook. And of course, every viewer is valued. We know our YouTube channel is simply growing, but of course, we know that with time, we shall also reach there. But we're happy with the big audience that we have on our Facebook page. I want to thank Mr. Kimera for always giving time. As I've been telling you, time without number, that Mr. Kimera here was one of the facilitators who, in fact, taught me about consumer rights about 20 years ago when I was doing a course sponsored by the Germans. I was a fellow under the Friedrich Ebert Foundation, and they brought always experts to come and teach prospective leaders to be able to know issues. But I'd gone to university without actually studying rights of consumers, and it was this gentleman here who came and facilitated that team of learners, trainees who were being mentored to become leaders. And of course, we did. Most of us did better after that training. We had MPs coming out of our group, RDCs, and of course, we are ministers, of course, coming out of that kind of training. It was a big, big thing. I want to thank so much Mr. Chimera for doing this work for a long time. So our partnership with him is not by accident. It has been designed for looking through the history we have shared with him. Now, Mr. Chimera, having said that, I'd like you to explain to the viewers who are watching us for the first time, at least briefly, about digital financing services before we go into the benefits that we need to know for this show, taking action going forward.
Thank you very much, Kato, and all our viewers and those that are joining us for the first time. I would like to welcome you. It is always an honor putting off time to improve the quality of life of consumers. It is our responsibility, and also it is our right to know. So I would like to lead you through. We have had, this is the third in the series, ever since we started the digital finance discussions. Digital finance is the fastest growing services that are not different, but are also and kind of linked even to the traditional banking system. Digital finance touches aspects that are wide, but using digital platforms where people look at it like electronic money going through the communication infrastructure, digital platforms, issues to do with banking, issues to do receive money, issues to pay for insurance, issues to get loans, issues to do with paying for your health services, but using digital technology. So all that encompasses and can't be around without consumers who are the market. So having looked at all these services, they are the fastest growing in the regards to technology development. We will appreciate that with digitalization, advancement in technology, towards the around about 0.4 billion consumers globally directly and indirectly benefit from digital financing or even digital technologies, not only in financing, but in communication, in aspects to do with agriculture, health, and so forth. But all of that tends to hinge on aspects of, let's say, financing different different services, buying goods, and so forth. And why are we discussing it? Consumers are the market. They are the biggest socioeconomic group. Businesses do plan to invest to serve consumers, goods and services. So under that background, we say that if the consumers are the foundation for the businesses, then they need to be treated fair. They shouldn't be cheated, because you can't cheat somebody who accesses your services unless you want that person to lose trust and confidence in the service and the business that you do. Ideally, that's what it should be, but unfortunately, it is not the case, because they are scrupulous people or businesses that do good, and then they are unscrupulous. Those who do unscrupulous business, the deep fakes that cheat, that scam the consumers, that would be their customers. It takes away the old saying that the customer is king. These days, the customer is victim in many circumstances. But today, we would like to discuss what needs to be done. What needs to be done by the duty bearers? what needs to be done by the businesses, what needs to be done by you, the consumers, me and you, and the consumer organizations. With that said, I would like to do a quick recap. Those who are joining us, the first series that we had, we looked at digital finance or fair digital finance from the aspect of consumer rights. And we said that having resources, as in food, is your right, but you need finance to access it. So, to date, digital aspects are no longer a privilege, but they are a necessity. In the modern world that is developing, you find that to meet your basic needs, you need to have an infrastructure, you need to have technology, you buy food online. So if the services, the digital services are not effective, and you order food or you can't order food, you'll be denied your right or to basic needs, which is food, health, education, housing. And you'll find all these to date. Let's say 1/3 of the global world use digital finance to pay for all these services. So that's why we were saying that we need to start with a series looking at consumer rights, looking at other consumer rights to safety. Digital finance being new in some of the areas, irrespective of having it in traditional banks in one way or another, as it is growing, we need to have it safe. We need to have it fair for consumers. And that's why we are having this series to make sure that we talk about aspects that will make digital finance unsafe and even make your life unsafe. So this is why we are discussing all this. We looked at another right to information. When you are accessing digital finance, you need information. Your right to choose, a right to be represented. Consumer Organization Global, the world using Consumers International are channeling aspects of representing and campaigning to have the consumer voices, to have fair digital finance mechanism frameworks. So that is the right to be represented, the right to redress. When you get a scam, when you there is defrauding, there is misinformation, as a consumer, you have to be redressed. So that is very key in that we discuss these aspects so that you get to know in respective countries you are, you follow your rights as consumers to get redress. You need consumer education so that you have financial literacy, you are educated on credit. Many consumers are indebted because they are not educated, they are not informed about financial services. We need to operate in a healthy environment. It is your right to go and do digital financing in a healthy environment, because you can't access money if people are not respecting your privacy. That is not a healthy environment to transact in. It is your right. But as consumers, we have got rights, but there's a cardinal role we have to play through asserting our responsibilities and acting responsibly. As consumers, as we access digital finance and call for fairness in digital finance, we need to be critically aware as our first responsibility. Being critically aware, you can scrutinize everything and you get to understand it. You question price, you question the quality. And this is when you see that the quality, telling you network failure, telling you that bring in your PIN code. I said, but I'm told the PIN code should be put in by me. Be critically aware. As a consumer, you need to be responsible and take action It is very key when things go wrong, you take action. If you do not take action, you lose out on many things. If you see anybody cheating, you might think that today it is my neighbor, it is not my business, but you also need to speak out, because after your neighbor, it will be you. So this is very key to be responsible consumers who take action when things are not good. It is very important as a consumer to be aware of the environment in which you are operating, to be responsible for that, to have awareness on the environment. The other aspect, to have social concern. Like I've just said, if you see one is being defrauded, speak up, because if you do not speak up, you are going to be disadvantaged. You are going to be the victim tomorrow. So whatever we are doing, we need to have social concern, not only for ourselves, but even for others. Because when you are in problems, your neighbor will take care of you, knowing that, oh, you took care of them also. So social concern is very important. The other aspect is environmental awareness, in which environment where we are operating. All this might not be directly linked with digital finance, the pictorial, but the wording behind it. Because even you can do, you need to be operating from a healthy environment in order to access the benefits, the ecosystem of digital finance. That's why we bring in this responsibility of environmental awareness, looking at all areas you operate from. And lastly, as your responsibility consumers, when we are talking about this, when things are bad, and today these are some of the things we are going to talk about, we need to be in solidarity. If we see something is going wrong as consumers on the receiving end, and we get ourselves together, because we are over 7 billion, we can change a system. So solidarity, when things are affecting us and we speak out and out, we can change the global world into order. So these are some of the things that we have been handling ever since we started this series. So I wanted to do the recap in the third series. And in the third series, today we want to look at the actions. But before we go into the actions, colleagues, fellow consumers, and those that are doing better business, good business, digital finance systems are the way to go in the evolving world. The digital finance ecosystem is quite wide. There are many financial technologies. Even if you are living in the remotest area of the global world, directly or indirectly, you'll have access. You will communicate, and most the communication is digitally. You need the waves. As your voice goes, the same infrastructure is transferring money to you. So this is where we need to discuss this and we start understanding it. You might be urban, but you end up sending money to your kinsfolk in the rural areas. All those that are in the rural areas sending you money in the urban area. Let's say you are a farmer. You've done some proceedings, so the money has to be sent to you. Let's say your kinsfolk are sick. You have to send money to the communities. So all these school fees, paying dues, and so forth. So the opportunities that are in digital finance are immense. They are quite many, but we need to understand those opportunities positively, and then we look at the negative. The positives are they have reduced the costs of operation. For many of us, they have brought in financial literacy to a certain degree. They have brought in choices. We used not to choose which bank to go to or which financial services to go to, but now we can choose which one to go to. In the first series, I was telling you, if I use Uganda example, years before mobile money came in, all digital finance came in, we had about 5 million accounts in banks. But from 2009 to date, any majority of the mobile phone holders were incorporated into the financial system. So digital finance brought about access. It brought about financial inclusivity, inclusiveness. It brought about financial literacy, paying systems, and so forth. So it has brought in choice, it has brought reduced costs of operation, it has brought access. All these benefits need to be sustained. That's why I'm looking at the opportunities that are there. We sustain them by making sure consumers have got trust and confidence in them as they access these services. They are included. So they are not only being told or spoke at, but they are incorporated while discussing to come up with good packages. That brings in sustainability. So Kato, I thought that before now we dig into the actions, I would come in and bring in the recapping and so forth, but they are not only opportunities, they are risks. Risks of
Yes.
poor infrastructure, risks of fraud, risks of lacking limited frameworks or laws, standards, follow-ups when people are schemed, those mechanisms to safeguard consumers. Those are very key. And if we're to benefit from the digital finance ecosystems, those have to be in place. And those will come in after Katoa has done his interjection.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was a good one, of course, elucidating on a number of issues, and of course, giving us that recap and the general overview of the digital financing platform. Of course, today, we are saying that we are getting digital when it comes to money. We are running away from cash-based economy to a card-based economy, if I may use that term, for this show's case. That in much of Europe today, it is hard to move with money. Basically, what you have to have is your card. And of course, transactions are done on your phone. So it means that now money has changed momentum, has changed ways through which you used to see it. That I no longer need to have money in terms of cash. It must be on my account, and with my phone, I can easily transact. So it becomes now digital because this phone is digital. With my phone, I can easily transact. I can easily buy anything. I can easily order anything right where I'm seated without even going out of the house. I can order and food may be delivered in my house where I am. So this is digital. Now, it has come with its own challenges. When I was doing postgraduate studies, of course, in law, my focus was on other dissertation. My focus was on money laundering. So I looked at it as a big animal. Money laundering is the process of turning dirty money, sometimes we call it dark money, into clean money. The proceeds of dark money. How do I sell drugs and then I turn money from drugs into legitimate money so I can buy a building, so I can buy a house, so I can buy land, so I can do business. How do I clean money I've got through prostitution, through organ trafficking? People traffic our girls and boys, our children, our relatives. They traffic them to other countries. They kill them. They take out their organs. It's a business. It's a big industry, organ trafficking. People want your heart. Another wants your kidney. People do evil in this world. They do organ trafficking. They do slavery. Today, slavery is worldwide. Do you know? Of course, you know, of course, but of course, the public, that I wanted to say that to the public, that do you know that even in the UK, there is slavery in different forms, under different tones, especially practiced by immigrants that, of course, have become nationals, but they still practice their traditional cultures elsewhere. They think a woman must be this. They are even arrange marriages, you know, and this is the UK, for example. But some people still do arranged marriages. Some people still force others to go into marriages. Some people still use people and don't pay them. So, and this is a developed world. But still, even when you Google it, there is slavery. Now, if there is slavery, however small magnitude may be in the UK, for example, how then can we say it is not there in Uganda? It may be even worse. Now, people have these casinos, for example. People have these bars, people have these hotels, and they get these girls and force them into prostitution. Now, they get this money. How do you clean this money and make it legitimate? Because the action, the method we have used to get this money is illegal. We have sold a person to slavery. I've been talking about slavery in the Arab, in the Western world and the Middle East, where our sisters go and they are put on a shelf, if I can say, on a podium, and they are picked as if someone is picking groundnuts. I'm going to buy her 10,000 real. I'm going to buy her 10,000 this and that. You know, in this day and age, people are still sold on the stock as if they are items like tomatoes, like bananas. Now, people get this money out of slavery, modern slavery, and use digital financing platforms to clean this money. So that was what part of my study at the master's degree level as my dissertation. That's what I did. I did money laundering, and I looked at how people all over the world have been getting that money and washing it to clean it. Today, someone is building a hotel, but you cannot know where the money came from. They are sacrificing, as they call it, people. They are selling people. They are doing organ trafficking. Now, digital financing makes it easier where there are no clear regulations, because money is going to move from a casino, from a bar where prostitution is taking place, from an organ trafficking business, and then it enters the system through banks. Now, there must be checks and balances. There must be organizations that are able to track bad money. We call it dark money. We call it dark money, we call it evil money, we call it black market money. Now, these are the things we look at when we talk about digital financing, for example. How do we stop money laundering happening amidst our side? Uganda, as we talked about the other week, didn't have a law to regulate mobile money banking until 2012 and thereabout there. And I mean, until recently. And yet, these have been happening. Mobile money has been there for some good time. It took them a decade to actually get an act to be effective. And even until last year, until even April this year, Bank of Uganda was still struggling to have an effective mechanism to implement the sanctions against banks, against telecommunication companies. How do you allow a telecommunication company like MTN, like say Vodafone, like say Safaricom, like say Airtel Uganda, how do you allow them to deal with money? Because by law, we know that these are telecommunication companies. How come they are now handling money? And you allow them in Uganda to work for a decade without a law. Yet each day, each month, they are transacting billions of money. Billions of money are being transacted by mobile companies or telecommunication companies having mobile money without a law. Now, this one allows money laundering to be prominent, because if I can easily put money on the phone and I send it to wherever I want to. It means no one is asking where I got the money from. And such money affects the economy because you think people have money when you're doing your GDP, GNP, but actually it's only 10 people having the money. So coming back to you, looking at issues of digital financing, these are issues that I love to talk about because I've been very interested in issues of money. And of course, how do we keep in poverty when only a certain section of people, a small percentage of people, become rich and rich? It becomes easier to stiffen an economy through digital platforms. So basically, we need strong laws. But apart from the laws, we need consent Uganda. We need strong organizations that can advocate for fairness, that can cause transparency. For example, how many of you viewers basically take time to read through terms and conditions of a bank where you put your money? How many of you know the terms and conditions for banking your money? How many of you know the terms and conditions of putting your money on MTN Uganda, on Airtel Uganda, on doing mobile money transactions? How many of you know what will happen to your money if you died or if you lost your phone? Like now I'm away from home and I had money on my phone, my number, and my number is lost. And this is a fact, by the way. My number I left in Uganda is lost. And that very, that very number, it's MTN number, had I was receiving my shares from MTN using my MTN number. I'm giving you a live example because this is a real story. But now my number, MTN number, was lost. And I don't have the mechanism to go and replace it because I must be there physically. Now the question is, what happens to my money? The question is, what happens to my share? Because MTN was issuing shares using your number, using your line. Now I'm not there and my line is lost. So who is going to safeguard my money? Now, these are issues we need to ask before buying shares. What happens if someone changes jurisdiction? What happens if someone dies? Now you don't know. Meanwhile, you have money with MTN as a subscriber, as an investor there. Now, many people like me are in trouble because we didn't know exactly what we are engaging in. So thank you so much, Mr. Kimera, for all this kind of elucidation and the knowledge. And I know that with time, people who are watching gradually will be able to learn and ask questions and be more informed. All of us don't know these things. As I normally say, I'm a student of in the School of Life. I keep on learning from everyone in this show. I keep on learning things, but I know that also people watching us do learn. I want to encourage you to please subscribe before I take it back to Mr. Chimera. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Then it's going to be putting the link right there. Mr. Chimera, let us go ahead and we see now the next phase of this discussion, looking at the benefits and the action needed to realize the benefits of digital financing services, as well as the entire ecosystem. You are most welcome, Mr. Chimera.
Thank you very much, Kapo. And like you said, we are all always learning. And even as we are sharing, we come in to learn. You've brought in new facets of money laundering and greenwashing it or cleaning it, making it good money. So I appreciate some of those aspects because some of the issues that are being raised by different aspects. The other aspect is now that I wanted to bring in legally, the telecom as MTN is separate now from the one that is doing mobile money, even the same with Airtel. So the new law had to get them separated, and now they are all monitored by Bank of Uganda and Ombudsman. So you look at all these aspects, and then you find that it is very key. We go in, but even as the different regulators are in there and so forth, you find that the telecom and the mobile money business are still intertwined because you nearly use the same platforms to resolve your issues that are done by the sister company. So you'll find that they are at times still, Now, before, Uganda Communications Commission was the regulator, but today, even people still think that mobile money issues you have to, well, as you have to take your challenges in mobile money to Bank of Uganda. But you need to first start with the company until you fail. That's when you go to, you escalate your complaint to the regulator. But having said that, Paul, I would like to start by what we are going to share as actions are drawn from the global consumer world by the vision through members of Consumers International put together. And we thought that we need to, as consent a member of Consumers International, we thought that we would use those same, because recently we had a discussion under still Consumers International, which is Fair Digital Finance Escalation Initiative, and OECD, the developed world, was sharing. I'll be sharing with you the report. You'll find it very interesting. The issues with consumer complaints are constant, as they are registered the Privacy Data Protection Office. And as we were evaluating and analyzing the complaints that we have here in Uganda are not different from the global world. And my colleagues were saying, but this is what people in Masaka complaining about. This is what people in Kampala complaining, Lila complaining. And all these were coming from different planets of the world, from Europe, from Americas, from Asia. So you will find that as we were preparing for this, we thought that we do not only need to look at Uganda, we need to look and share the approaches that are from the global world. So today, I want to use the vision for a fair digital finance using Consumers International synthesized information from members. All this was generated with membership input. And you'll find that we have already appreciated that digital finance plays a major role. It is in every aspect of life. And that's where we will need to have a consumer-based approach in action, because we are the market. We need a consumer-centered vision. And this, as we are looking at it, the benefits and actions that need to be done by different players. Let's say we're looking at inclusivity. We will need to see government playing a role to establish financial and digital infrastructure through policy aspects. I'm saying in Uganda the infrastructure is there, but it has challenges, because you look at complaints. People talk of poor networks, not having effective complaints addressed. So for effective inclusivity, we need an enabling financial and digital infrastructure to meet the basic needs of consumers. It will be very key so that the consumer enjoy the digital finance ecosystem and increased inclusivity, have effective financial consumer protection guidelines that welcome consumers and address the issues, that innovation, that enable consumers to make choices, that allow consumers to access financial services. I would say we have the mechanisms in Uganda, but we have got challenges. And I know other African countries too, and the global world. But there is a need for governments as duty bearers to make sure that the providers, as in private sector or businesses, ensure that all consumers are treated fairly, in particular the vulnerable, who are at risk of being defrauded because of their vulnerability. So private sector need to do digitalization where businesses and persons can interlink and work seamlessly, in that they address the challenges, they get quality customer care, they get quality conflict resolution, complaints handling, all these mechanisms. Government has to bring in that enabling environment. Private sector comply by providing quality services to consumers, offering services that are of good quality so that the consumers do not shy away from that. So looking at inclusivity, consumer organization and consumers themselves, we need to play a role in responsibility. I talked of responsibility of being critical aware, taking action, and solidarity. These, if we speak up, complain to consumer associations, and consumer associations advocate and escalate the complaints of consumers, this will improve inclusivity, and we all start benefiting from a fair digital finance environment or system. So this is a major requirement. With less inclusivity, we will find that digital finance is very expensive. So it is very key to have more consumers accessing digital finance to reduce costs of operation. Inclusivity is something very important in advancing quality, fair digital finance. That's the vision that needs to be done, or that needs to be done, continuously advocating to have a consumer-centered digital finance. What needs to be done for us to enjoy? We have alluded to it before. It needs to be safe. Saying that customer is king, or we could say today customer is king and queen. But the saying is that we face, looking at the scams, looking at the defect, looking at the faults, then you find that consumers are no longer customer is king and queen or queen and king. So this is where we need to advocate for safety as we access services. Using that illustration, digital finance can end up being unsafe to you, shocks you. If it is not safe, they scam you, you will not be in position to afford good quality food. The services will be hazard. So the safety that we are looking at, duty bearers as in government, there is need for enforcement agencies in different aspects, in finance, in insurance, capital markets, in what, to be fully fledged, in position to do investigations, in position to supervise, in position to do surveillance, to safeguard consumers to enjoy digital finance. The regulators need to have relevant information, to have coordination, to speak to each other. The regulator in communication, the regulator in finance, the regulator in insurance, the regulator in capital market, the regulator in microfinance, to talk, to see to it that the consumers, their customers, their clients are not unsafe in the digital ecosystem. We need to dedicate consumer lines that are responsive to consumers when they are raising complaints. This is when we will benefit from digital finance, to seek information, to ensure that the legal systems in our respective jurisdictions are responding to consumer challenges. When they're disinformed, when they are misled through advertisements, when they are ripped off, mechanisms need to inform them so that the consumers do not lose faith and confidence in the service. All this needs to be done by government as the policy maker. So the private sector, the businesses, because you find digital finance is not only provided by private sector, you'll find there might be civil society organization, public organizations. So wherever is a service provider with regards to digital finance, we need to offer protection to consumers so that the consumers benefit. The consumers have quality of experience. The best marketing is a word of mouth. If I'm happy with the services, I'll tell the next person. So with consumer-centered services, the consumers will continuously proclaim the good services the providers are offering. So we'll need to be protected against scams. We need to be protected against fraud of any kind. These are voices of the global consumers speaking to business. These are actions that are needed to conduct, continuously check, to see to it that the system, the infrastructure is tamper-proof. It is in position to address. Members of staff do not connive in syndicate to defraud consumers. To provide effective channels, like I was asking government or data bearers to provide effective channels for complaints, the private sector should have more, or the service providers should have more channels for consumers to speak up, to do better business. I always tell the business community that the best asset or the most sustainable asset that they have is the complaining consumer who provides and tells you honestly what is wrong with the product that you are offering. So it is very key so that once the mechanisms are in place, the consumers will be in position to complain and get redress. This will build consumer confidence. Consumers and consumer associations, consumer organizations need to utilize these spaces by continuously raising complaints. This is what we do at Consent. We collect consumer complaints from all areas we operate in. And then we channel these complaints so that they improve service delivery of consumers to consumers. So this is very key. We also need to support, hold the consumers on their hands and work and walk in solidarity to improve the ecosystem of digital finance. Because it's not going to go away. It is here to stay. But we have to make sure that the mechanisms of safety, as in consumer protection, are effective. The other aspect that we need to look at, one which is very key, and like Kato, you were saying, in the Internet of Things, there is big data. Companies do not sell products, but they say, I have got 5 million consumers on my network. I'm good to be advertised on. I have 1 billion connected to my network. Your advert will be seen by all of them. So to have effective digital finance ecosystem, digital finance aspects, there is need to have data protection and privacy. I'm happy to say in Uganda, we have got the office in place, as in by law, the Data Protection Office or the Private Data Protection Office. We have got authorities in place. These need to be effective so that they protect the consumer's information, the consumer's data, privacy aspects. Like I've said, at Consent, we do collect consumer complaints. We harvest them in different regions where we operate, but we have to be registered and get, once we are registered, we have to abide by the regulations. How do you collect data? How do you process it? How do you store it? So I would like to commend Uganda government for putting this in place. Now, the other aspects are, how is it effectively utilized? The infrastructure is in place. The mechanisms are in place. Then it needs to be responsive when consumers have got challenges, so that if somebody infringes or uses wrongly their data, does the system effectively respond? These are key aspects. And I'm happy, like I've said, we have a National Data Protection Office. We continuously engage them as stakeholders, and we continuously tell consumers about it to make sure that they appreciate their right to privacy, their right of data protection. Many of us as consumers, at times, it is through our negligence that we get scammed. When we are advised by regulatory authorities, the competent authorities, do not share your PIN. Your bank tells you this. Your national operating tells you don't do this. We end up doing it. Some, we do it through knowledge. Others, we do it out of love. I need to say that because some men have ended up giving their gadgets, their passwords, their love. They lose money, then they turn against, or even women do that. I will not say it is only men who do it. I know that because it is happening, not only here in Africa or in Uganda, but it is global. So
I should add something there.
Please do.
I should come in there briefly and say that what we are saying,
yes,
the love scams, it's a great thing. I mean, it's a global problem. Love scams, if I may use that term, it's a global problem. In fact, on the internet, there's what we call,
yes,
what they call Yahoo boys.
Yes.
Yahoo boys. Anyone can search them. Yahoo boys are the guys on the internet who paid themselves as available, handsome men that are looking for women. And you know, sometimes, I must say sometimes, women, when they reach a certain age, they become frustrated, they become desperate for men. And what is happening in Europe and in part of the America, you know, in the Western world, many Caucasian women who are maybe above 60 years or maybe 70, 80, many of them are widows, you know, so they don't have partners, what we say. Now, because of nature, sometimes they want partners. Now, they take on these so-called dating sites where they find Yahoo boys. They call them now Yahoo boys. That's the kind of name they are calling them if you Google it. Now, these Yahoo boys will reply themselves as available, as gold. And what they do is to scam these women. I've been following episodes of women whose assets were sold to give money to Yahoo boys. And others have even gone ahead as faking marriages in order to steal people's property. So women, as we say, have been the biggest victim, though also some men have also been victims. You know? So yes, so this is a challenge. And how do we say it's a challenge under this show? Because it's under digital financing. They are using digital platforms. Exactly. They are using digital platforms to steal from unsuspecting women and men looking for love, desperate for love. So this is a warning. Not everything you see on the social media is genuine. There are many people who are fake. So before you send that money, think twice. Before you give your PIN number, think twice. Thank you so much, Mr. Kimera. It's your time to conclude. You have 6 minutes. You're going to use them.
So as I conclude, thank you very much, Paul. We will be finalizing these actions next week, and I'm sure that we bring in many other aspects. But I would like to conclude by saying that our allow us to have fair finance, but it is our responsibilities that will make it happen. If we take aware, take action, have social concern, think about the environment we're operating in, and we are in solidarity. So by next week, we will continue with actions in aspects to bring about still on data protection. How do we sustain the benefits and the visualized digital finance? And I would like to thank a lot our colleagues at Humanist TV Africa. We're always greatly honored. And for you, all the viewers, wherever you are, continue getting this knowledge, use it, sensitize others. You are a potential if you do not take action. Be responsible, be alert, and be aware. So, Dennis, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to next Saturday.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chimera. That was a good one. And of course, Dennis Bongole for the production. We want to thank so much Consent Uganda, and of course, the associate partner NGO that work with Consent Uganda for championing the cause of spreading awareness when it comes to consumer rights. Wherever you are, you're in Ghana, you're in Tanzania, you're in Kenya, you're in Zambia, Zimbabwe, UK, USA, wherever you are watching us. We want to encourage you to have a pressure group, if I may call it that way, that advocate for the rights of the consumers, that actually protect the rights of consumers, that actually make it a point to create awareness that before you buy it, is it safe? Before you eat that food, is that safe? Before you send that money, is that the right way to do it? Because people are getting back into poverty. They slide back into poverty because of the mistakes they do online. Because now the world is becoming digital. Everyone is having a smartphone in a way. Even if it's not a smartphone, there's a phone you can use to send money. It becomes easier for your grandparent to send money. But are we prepared here to avoid scams, to keep that money safe? Because we have been seeing people lamenting after losing millions, hundreds of dollars to scammers. I want to thank you so much, Consent Uganda, and of course, Humanist TV Africa management for always giving us this 1 hour each Saturday to be here and add a brick to the development of our continent, our world, and of course to empowering people. I want to encourage you, our viewers, to please subscribe. Please subscribe. The link is right there. It is Humanist TV Africa. Subscribe and keep it subscribed. And of course, keep sharing, keep informing others to always check it out at Humanist TV Africa. We shall be back next Saturday with the same show, different topic, and look at different angles of safeguarding you to keep you out of danger. Thank you so much, Mr. Chimera. And of course, for your time, Dennis, and everyone watching. See you in the next show.